Jude reminds us that it's faith that pleases God. In Jude, verse 5, he says, I will therefore put you in remembrance. This is one of the things that the Bible does. It constantly reminds us of God's mercy, of God's grace, of God's promises, and also of the fact that God will judge sin. And so he says, I will therefore put you in remembrance, though you once knew this, how that the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, afterward destroyed them that believed not. So when we read this, he's reminding us of the Exodus, an incredibly important watershed moment in the life of the nation of Israel, demonstrating God's promises, God's deliverance, contrasting the promised land of Canaan with Egypt, the picture of the world. And all of the people experienced the Exodus. They experienced God bringing the plagues on the Egyptians. They experienced God making a separation between the Israelites and the Egyptians so that the Israelites were spared the plagues while the Egyptians suffered them. And then to literally see the Red Sea part and Pharaoh's army destroyed in the waves while the Israelites walked through on dry land. And then immediately after that, they went to Kadesh Barnea and they sent the spies into the land. Now, God had already promised that he was going to give them the land, but the representatives from each tribe went into the land and came back, 12 of them. 2 of them bringing a good report, and 10 bringing what the Bible calls an evil report. And the people believed the 10 rather than the 2. And so they didn't believe God. And in Numbers 14:29, God says, your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness. And all that were numbered of you according to your whole number from 20 years old and upward, which have murmured against me. And he says in verse 37, even those men that did bring up the evil report upon the land died by the plague before the Lord. And then God postponed their entry into the promised land for 40 years to allow that entire generation to die off that didn't believe him, and then take their children into the promise that he had promised. And so that's what verse 5 is talking about. He says, I will therefore put you in remembrance, though you once knew this, how that the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, that's the Exodus, afterward destroyed them that believed not. That is the 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. I just want to encourage you this morning as you read that. Jude is telling us, he says, look, I want you to beware. There's people who sneak into God's church. They creep in secretly and they bring lies. They come in with the intention of destroying the church rather than building it. And the reason is because they don't believe the word of God. And then he's going to give this example. Hey, God knows who believes him. God knows who is truly trusting him and who is not. He preserved Joshua and Caleb through 40 years and then used them to enter into the land of Canaan, and then he rewarded them with land in the land of Canaan, just like he promised. But all the rest of that generation, God destroyed them, it says there. He says, he destroyed them that believed not. What is it that pleases God? Well, it's faith. God has given us his word. God has given us his son. And he wants for us to believe him, to trust him. God's absolutely trustworthy. And he wants for you and I to recognize that and to believe him. So I just want to encourage you today. Don't be like the unbelievers. Be like Joshua. Be like Caleb. Believe God and receive the promise. God bless you. Have a great day.